Hey you, yeah you, get over here for a sec. Come on. Don't be shy because I don't think you actually get it. What's really going on around you? Not the full picture, not the real punchline, not with that silent tornado spinning right behind your name like it's been building up forever. You strut around thinking you're just another nobody in the hallway, another face in the crowd, minding their own twisted little business. Meanwhile, and here's where it gets funny, you got zero clue how many heavy hitters are clocking your every move, mapping your decisions, whispering about your potential like it's some classified secret they're terrified to say out loud. You think you're invisible? That's the joke, isn't it? That's the punchline you missed. You're the only one still buying that story. Everyone else already clocked the shift. They already feel that unsettling electric energy that trails you wherever you drag yourself. They've been studying how you move, how you bounce back, how you somehow keep crawling forward even after life unloaded on you with things that should have absolutely wrecked you. They're confused, bothered, low-key impressed, threatened, inspired. Sometimes all five at once. Messy little crowd, aren't they? Sighs. And here's the part that really gets me going. Powerful people don't waste their time watching just anyone. They don't analyze someone who's predictable. They don't study someone who blends into the wallpaper. They don't sit in the dark running their calculations on somebody forgettable. No. They watch the ones who make them nervous without even trying. They watch the survivors, the ones who went through things that should have shattered them into 1,000 pieces and somehow didn't. They watch the ones who move like they're carrying a secret the rest of the world hasn't cracked yet. That's you. And you don't even see it. Isn't that delicious? You ever walk into a room and catch that tiny little shift in the air? Clears throat, like conversations drop off for half a beat. People recalibrate their vibe. Some of them straighten up, others snap their eyes away real fast, like they weren't just staring a hole through you. And you're standing there thinking, why is everyone acting so weird today? Sighs. Oh, that's rich. It's not them, it's you. It's that presence you haul around without even asking for it. That unexplainable crackling intensity. High-level players, the real ones, they read energy before they read resumes. They recognize survival before they recognize success. They recognize someone who can't be snapped before they ever check your receipts. They've been watching you because you represent something they can't put in a spreadsheet. Something that doesn't compute on paper, something that by all logic shouldn't exist. But here you are, still breathing, still moving, chaos with a pulse. And let's get real for a second, shall we? Your road hasn't exactly been a stroll through the park, has it? You weren't handed anything. You had to rip opportunities out of life's hands with your bare teeth. You didn't get a support system, you became your own. Nobody understood you, so you had to build your own clarity from scratch, brick by brick in the dark. And the irony? Oh, this is the part I love. The same clowns who looked right through you are now watching you like you're some rare exhibit. They suddenly need to understand. Hilarious, right? High-status eyes couldn't care less about your backstory. They're locked in on your trajectory. They don't care where you started. They care where you're headed. And lately you've been moving in a direction that has mediocre minds absolutely shaking and powerful ones leaning forward in their chairs. You stepped into a lane that was never written for you, and you made it yours anyway. You moved with purpose during stretches where you had absolutely no clue what you were doing. And yet somehow you still looked like you had the whole map memorized. That is what snagged their attention. You know what else they clocked? How you never implode in public. How you don't rant on main. How you don't go begging for validation like some kind of approval addict. How you don't explain yourself to people who don't have the processing power to understand. You just keep going quiet, locked in, unbothered. People in high places, they admire that. They fear that. They respect the rarity of it because they know how many people fold way before the finish line. And yet here you are holding yourself together with nothing but raw willpower and that quiet fire burning behind your eyes. Mad respect. Sighs. And let me drop something on you that might make your chest do a little flip. Some of those high-status people aren't just spectators. They're waiting on you. Waiting to see your next play. Waiting to see if you rise or if you retreat. Waiting to see if you step into the version of yourself they've already sensed coming. And you still think nobody notices. The universe didn't hide you. It was setting the stage, building the tension, letting the curiosity marinate, creating the silence before the explosion. Because the truth is, people at the top can feel when someone is about to break through. They sense a shift long before it becomes visible to everyone else. And you've been walking around like a living plot twist that hasn't dropped yet. They know your story isn't regular. They know there's a chapter coming that nobody is prepped for. Some of them are rooting for you. Some of them are low-key hoping you fumble. But all of them, every single one, have got their eyes on your path. It's not quiet out there. It's not empty. It's not unnoticed. There are eyes on you from angles you can't even imagine. People in rooms you've never stepped foot in are discussing you like a wild card they can't predict. Individuals with serious clout trying to figure out how someone like you came out of nowhere carrying this much intensity. And yeah, maybe you don't feel special right now. Maybe you don't feel powerful. Maybe you look in the mirror and see absolutely nothing extraordinary staring back. But that's exactly why they're watching. Because you're real in a world drowning in masks. You're raw in a world addicted to performance. You're unpredictable in a world full of scripts and autopilot. And you're rising in a world where most people are just staying put, comfortable, stagnant, safe. Sighs. Your path is being observed because your presence disrupts the whole narrative. Your name is getting noted because your existence challenges what people thought was possible. Your energy is being trapped because it straight up doesn't fit any mold they've got on file. You think you're just trying to survive, but they're watching you like someone who might take over the whole board and you still have zero clue. Oh, that's my favorite part. Your smallest decisions are getting put under a microscope by people who don't make a single move without calculating it 6 times. But you move on, raw instinct, unpolished, unpredictable, and it throws them off every single time. You ever notice how sometimes you take a step you didn't even consciously plan and somehow it lands perfectly? That's the part they can't decode. High-status minds run on patterns, formulas, predictable behavior. But you're chaos with direction. You make moves that look accidental, but hit with surgical precision. You shift the whole atmosphere without saying a single word. What they don't get is that your power didn't come from comfort. It was forged in survival. You built your backbone in silence. You built your resilience in the pitch black. You built your confidence by walking through situations that would have swallowed most people whole and spat out the bones. And when someone gets forged like that, they don't move through the world the same way anymore. You carry history in your eyes. You carry battle scars in your posture. You carry stories nobody will ever fully know. And yet everyone can feel something when you pass by. Isn't that wild? Deep down, you've always known you weren't built for some quiet, small, simple little life. Not because you were chasing the spotlight, but because life kept throwing you experiences that didn't match someone ordinary. Life kept posting you up in situations where you had to step up, think sideways, react fast, grow overnight. Life kept walking you to the edge over and over until standing at the edge became your default setting. Your comfort zone became the place most people refuse to go near. People in high places respect edge walkers. They pay attention to anyone who doesn't collapse under pressure. They study anyone who can thrive in the uncomfortable zones because they know those are the ones who end up rising the highest. And here's a truth you've probably never let yourself fully sit with. Size. You intimidate people who have more status than you, but less strength, more money than you, but less resilience, more connections than you, but less purpose. They watch you because they feel something in you that they lost in themselves a long time ago. You represent a hunger they no longer have. Music and singing, a courage they once needed, an authenticity they traded away for comfort. You shake their certainty. You disrupt their predictability, and they cannot look away. You ever wonder why certain people act sketchy around you for absolutely no reason? Why some people treat you like a threat when you haven't done a thing? Why you feel tension in spaces you didn't create? Laughter and snorts. It's because your presence exposes the truth. Your existence forces people to face their own limitations. Your energy reminds them of who they've been pretending to be. And high-status people aren't immune to that. In fact, they feel it even harder. Size. They can sense when someone is moving with a trajectory that doesn't match where they're currently standing, and you're moving like someone who's about to leap, not step, leap. They're observing your path because they know once you unlock your next level, once you stop lowballing yourself, once you stop second-guessing your voice, once you stop shrinking your presence down to make other people comfortable, you're going to walk into rooms you never even knew existed. You're going to rise in ways that flat out refuse to be denied. You're going to become the person your past worked overtime to stop you from becoming. And that is exactly why they're watching. They're studying the moment right before the transformation, the breath before the breakthrough, the pause before the quiet voice in your head finally goes, wait. Everything I survived, it wasn't random, it was preparation. People with influence are observing you because your story isn't running on the standard arc. It's building tension like something massive is about to unfold. You think you're unnoticed, unimportant, just living your life, getting through the day, but you're actually a conversation piece, a rising variable, a developing force, a potential that nobody has successfully categorized yet. They're not watching you because you're small. They're watching you because something in you is getting ready to erupt. And the wildest part, you're still out here tiptoeing around like you're trying not to bump into anybody while your entire aura is screaming. Disruption, transformation, elevation, lauder. You ever stop mid-afternoon and feel that weird pressure in your chest like something is rearranging, but you can't quite name it? That's not anxiety. That's your life doing construction behind the scenes, your path widening, the universe clearing space for a version of you that you haven't had the nerve to step into yet. High status eyes can sense that before you can, and you're carrying momentum that doesn't match your current environment, presence that doesn't match your current circumstances, potential that is way above the floor you're standing on, and they feel that mismatch intensely. That's why some of them stare longer than they should. That's why certain influential people suddenly go cold or awkward or weirdly obsessed with the smallest things you do. You think you're just existing, but you're actually influencing. You think you're just surviving, but you're actually leading. You think you're just figuring things out, but you're actually leading. You think you're just figuring things out, actually inspiring people who will never admit it. Isn't that a riot? There are people with status, connections, rep, and real influence, watching the way you keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when you're running on empty, even when you're lost, even when you feel completely alone. They study how you didn't fold, how you didn't quit, how you didn't let the world have the satisfaction of breaking you, because they know strength when they see it. And nothing pulls the gaze of powerful people like someone who simply cannot be easily broken. Sighs and gasps. They see how you operate without a safety net, how you think for yourself, how you don't chase approval, how you don't perform for anyone. Do you understand how rare that is? People in elevated spaces aren't fascinated by perfection. They're fascinated by authenticity, by grit, by someone who keeps rising without waiting for permission. You're being observed because you represent a different breed. Someone who didn't get their confidence from praise. Someone who built everything internally in their own silence, in their own dark. The way you walk like you've survived things that don't even have names. The way you talk like you've tasted consequences and kept your dignity anyway. The way you look at the world like you know exactly how dark it gets and still choose to keep going. You're unpredictable. You're resilient. You're unboggled by fear. You're not starstruck by status. You don't need anyone's validation to keep moving. That makes you dangerous in the absolute best way. Lauder? Some of them admire you. Some of them envy you. Some of them are low-key, terrified of what you might become. But all of them, every single one, are paying attention. Sighs and gasps. And here's what should really mess with your head. You're only operating at maybe 10% of what you're actually capable of right now. Barely warming up. Sighs. And even that tiny fraction is shaking people who built their whole identity around being unshakable. You're not even in your final form, not even close. And you're already disrupting people who spent years stacking their status, their reputation, their networks, their brand, while you're just out here trying to get through Tuesday. Sighs! You exist in this strange in-between space. Quiet but powerful, humble but intimidating, lost but purposeful, conflicted but somehow perfectly aligned. People in high positions don't have a box for you. You're the type who forces other people to question themselves without saying a word. The type who accidentally exposes the cracks behind other people's confidence. The type who accidentally successful people stop and think. What did this person survive? Where does that energy come from? You know how rare that is to unsettle the settled. Lauder. And here's one final thing. One last piece of the punchline. Lauder. Some of the people watching you don't even know why they keep coming back to your story. They just feel something pulling them toward your path, something they can't logic their way through. It's instinct, it's recognition. They recognize the kind of person who rises slowly, then all at once. You're not the type who explodes, you're the type who builds pressure so quietly that one day people look back and go, wait, when exactly did they become unstoppable? That's why you're being observed. Not because you're failing, not because you're lost, not because you're weak, but because something in you has been waking up. Hunger, a focus, a sharpness, a calmness in the chaos. A confidence that's not loud, but absolutely undeniable. You're going to outgrow this whole environment. You're going to blow past every expectation placed on you. You're going to rise higher than everyone who counted you out. And they're watching the exact moment right now before all of that becomes obvious even to you. You haven't even woken up to your own gravity yet. Still moving like someone who's scared to disturb the room. While the room is already rearranging itself around you, still doubting yourself. While they're analyzing your every micro move like it's data from a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. So, the only real question left, the only thing that matters is this: sighs and gasps. When are you going to stop watching yourself the way they do? Because the moment you do, oh, that's when the real show begins. Hey, you notice what they're saying about you? The word's out. It's spreading faster than smoke in a room full of secrets. They're calling you straight up gangster. Not the kind that's reckless, not the one that crumbles under pressure, but the kind that makes pressure look like a joke. They can't even explain it properly. They just feel it. That controlled danger around you, that composure that makes chaos look clumsy. They can't put their finger on it, but they know one thing for sure. You stayed classy while they lost control. Yeah, they lost themselves trying to get a reaction out of you. And you stayed still, calm, measured. That's what triggers them most. The way you don't break character when everything around you starts shaking. The way you make dignity look dangerous. The way you move without noise, without begging for recognition, without flinching. You just act. You just execute. And it works. Look at them now, whispering like kids who found out the monster under the bed is real. They're not sure whether to fear you, respect you, or imitate you. You got them twisted, confused, trying to label something they don't understand. They expected chaos. You gave grace. They expected a meltdown. You gave mastery. That's what gangster truly means. Owning your emotions instead of being owned by them. They thought your silence was weakness. Your calm was surrender. But when the dust cleared, you were still standing while they were choking on their own noise. You didn't prove yourself through rage. You proved it through restraint. You didn't have to say a word. You let the world reveal itself by how it reacted to you. Every rumor, every whisper, every sideways glance, they're all proof of one thing. You've become the mirror that exposes everyone's insecurities. People talk most about the ones who show them what they're not. And you've become that reflection, the one that reveals where discipline begins and weakness ends. They don't hate you because you hurt them. They hate you because you didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. They wanted you loud, impulsive, messy. You gave them poise, calculation, precision. You gave them something they can't replicate. Composure under pressure. That's what separates you from the noise. Every room you walk into, they feel it before you speak. That quiet authority, that effortless balance. It's not the kind of energy that asks for attention. It demands it. They sense that every word you speak is filtered through clarity. Every move you make has weight. That's what unnerves them. You don't waste energy on performance. You move like someone who's already seen the outcome. And maybe you have, because people like you don't operate on impulse. They operate on insight. You see 10 steps ahead. And that's why they keep falling for the traps they set for you. They keep trying to measure your strength through noise, through gossip, through manipulation. But you measure strength through endurance. While they exhaust themselves performing, you conserve energy perfecting. That's why they call you gangster now. Not because you act tough, but because you don't have to. You exude something raw, untamed, and yet perfectly controlled. You know how rare that is, to look unbothered while commanding every ounce of attention in the room. That's what separates icons from imitators. That's why people whisper when you pass by. They can't decide if they should admire you or protect themselves from you. You stayed clean in the dirty game. You stayed grounded when everything around you tried to pull you down. You didn't fight fire with fire. You let them burn themselves out while you kept your air pure. And that patience, that timing, that subtle dominance, it's driving them insane. They can't stand that you make discipline look beautiful, that you make control look dangerous. They thought losing their temper made them powerful. They thought shouting louder meant victory. But you turned stillness into strategy. You turned class into a weapon. You showed them that the real boss isn't the one who reacts. It's the one who dictates the tempo. You notice that, right? How every time you keep calm, someone else starts to panic. How every time you stay focused, someone else starts to unravel. That's not coincidence, that's power distribution. You hold your center so tight that everyone else loses theirs. And the moment they do, you've already won. You don't need to prove dominance when you embody it. Every controlled breath, every measured pause, every choice not to engage. Those are power moves. Not everyone sees it, but the smart ones do. The ones with real awareness can tell what's happening. They see that composure is your weapon of choice. They see that the loud ones burn out quick while you build momentum in silence. They're confused because they can't figure out your formula. They can't understand how someone stays calm when insulted, how someone keeps smiling while being tested, how someone still elevates while being envied. They assume it's luck, but it's not. It's practice. It's mastery. You trained yourself to stay balanced when others break. You learned the art of holding your ground when others beg for validation. You're not playing their game, you redefined it. And that's what makes them uneasy. Because how do you compete with someone who doesn't even acknowledge competition? They try to drag you into chaos and you refuse the invitation. You let their noise fade into background music while you kept your focus forward. You learn the difference between reaction and response, between noise and power, between impulse and influence. And that's why people keep saying your name like it's an event, because it is. You're not part of the crowd. You're the pause in the conversation. The energy shift when you enter a space. You're that rare combination of calm and intensity that people can't categorize. That's what drives them crazy. They can't define what they can't dominate. They envy the way you walk away from nonsense without losing your cool. They study the way you handle disrespect without stooping to it. You move like someone who knows that time is the real weapon and you don't waste it. Every second, Every word, every gesture is calculated. You don't talk to prove a point, you move to make one. And that scares people who thrive on chaos, because you remind them that chaos only works when others participate. You chose not to participate, and that decision shattered their entire playbook. Think about it. How many of them have tried to bait you into arguments, into emotional traps, into drama disguised as conversation? And every time you simply smiled, nodded, and stepped aside, that's psychological warfare disguised as grace. That's gangster energy disguised as composure. You didn't destroy them with aggression, you let their own immaturity implode. That's what they can't comprehend. Control is louder than rage, precision is louder than performance, and you've mastered both. People underestimate how hard it is to remain calm when everything's testing you. They think control comes easy. They don't realize it takes discipline, patience, and years of self-awareness to get to that point. You paid the price quietly in moments no one saw. When everyone else was reacting, you were studying. When everyone else was talking, you were learning. When everyone else was breaking down, you were building up. And now that the results are visible, they want to call it luck. But deep down, they know. They know it's mastery, disguised as humility. Look closely and you'll see it. The shift in their energy when you walk in. Some tense up. Some pretend not to notice. Some overcompensate with forced smiles. They feel that controlled danger radiating off you. Not violence, not threat, just power they can't decode. You earn that through discipline, not drama. You earn that by walking away from what didn't serve you, by holding your emotions like a blade, sharp, but never reckless. You became the example of what it means to lead yourself before leading others. That's why they whisper. That's why they can't stop talking. They'll say you changed. They'll say you became distant, cold, detached. But that's projection. They mistake peace for arrogance because they've never felt it. You stopped giving reactions that feed their chaos, and now they're starving for your attention. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them explanation. You already gave them the lesson. How to stay composed while being provoked. Whether they learn from it or break under it is not your responsibility. You're not here to fix people who enjoy being broken. You're here to master yourself. And that right there is what gangster means. See? Real strength isn't measured by how loud you can be when you're angry. It's how kumbum you can be when you're disrespected. Real dominance isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself. You've learned how to hold your composure even when provoked. How to remain clear when emotions flare. How to respond with intelligence instead of impulse. That's why they study you in silence, even if they act like they don't care. You become the living example of what control under pressure looks like. That's something they can't fake. That's something they can't copy. No matter how hard they try, they'll throw words, assumptions, traps. They'll try to corner you with lies and manipulation, but every attempt fails for the same reason. You don't give them what they want. They want drama. You give distance. They want chaos. You give clarity. They want reaction. You give awareness. Every time you choose not to fall for it, you take back the power they thought they had. That's why their envy burns so bright. It's not because you did something to them. It's because you didn't. You didn't descend. You didn't break. You didn't play small to fit their expectations. You just stayed centered. And that calm, that poise, It's their undoing. Your reputation now precedes you. People use your name to describe what composure looks like under fire. You become the blueprint for how to win without arguing, how to dominate without aggression, how to make power look elegant. You didn't force it. You became it through consistency. Every time you chose focus over distraction, you built that energy. Every time you chose silence over shouting matches, you built that aura. Every time you chose patience over impulse, you built that control. It wasn't luck. It was discipline, repetition, vision. Now they look at you with a mix of fear and fascination. They can't hate you outright because your results speak louder than their opinions. They can't challenge you directly because your composure disarms confrontation. They're trapped between wanting to discredit you and wanting to be you. That's the price of self-mastery. It turns admirers into imitators, imitators into critics, and critics into fans again. The cycle never ends, but you remain the constant, the one who never flinches, the one who never lowers themselves to prove worth. And that's what makes this era yours. You've shown that in a world addicted to noise, the one who stays composed becomes the authority. You've proven that chaos isn't strength, it's insecurity exposed. You've become the quiet standard everyone secretly measures themselves against. They won't admit it out loud, but they feel it. You set the rhythm now. You define the temperature. You decide when things move and when they pause. That's real dominance. Control over yourself that extends outward without needing permission. They'll keep testing you, keep gossiping, keep hoping you'll slip. But you won't, because you've learned that consistency outlasts confusion. You've learned that self-control turns pressure into power. And that's why they call you gangster. Not because you break rules, but because you mastered yourself so well that the rules bend around you. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're just existing in your full power. And that existence alone unsettles people who still depend on reactions to feel alive. So let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them project. You already know the truth. They only speak about what they can't reach. They only target what intimidates them. They only envy what reminds them of their own lack of discipline. Keep your head high. Keep your tone even. Keep your pace steady. You don't need to chase respect. You generate it. And the ones who can't handle that will eventually fade into the background noise you've already learned to ignore. Because here's the thing, they thought this was about image, about who looked stronger, who shouted louder. But the longer this goes on, the more they realize it's about endurance. You've outlasted the gossip, outsmarted the games, outgrown the triggers. You've become the definition of controlled danger. You don't need validation, you are the validation. And the same people who laughed before now speak your name with caution. That's transformation, that's growth. That's evolution of power through patience. And as this chapter continues to unfold, you'll see it clearer than ever. The world's reaction is nothing but reflection. The more calm you remain, the more chaos reveals itself. The more centered you stand, the more the world spins to keep up. And soon they'll realize it's not luck, it's mastery. Not attitude, but awareness. Not noise, but precision. That's why you're being talked about. That's why your presence feels heavier now. That's why they whisper your name like it's both a compliment and a warning. See, what they call gangster isn't about aggression. It's about elegance that carries authority. It's that blend of confidence and composure that makes the room bend toward your rhythm. You never announced your arrival. but somehow you became the moment everyone's reacting to, and what gets them the most. You don't ask for validation, it comes naturally. You don't demand respect, it organizes itself around you. You've crossed into that rare space where your very presence rewrites the hierarchy. They can't understand how someone can stay classy while commanding power. But that's exactly what you've mastered. They talk because they can't process it. They whisper because they can't replicate it. They're frustrated because everything they tried to use against you became proof of your balance. You never took the bait. You never stooped to their level. You played the long game built on patience, awareness, and timing. And now that it's paying off, they're shaking under the weight of your restraint. You made patience look dangerous. You made humility look like a crown. And now they call you gangster, not because you rebelled, but because you evolved. You became untouchable not by distance, but by discipline. The funniest part, they once mocked your calm, said you were too quiet, too composed, too strategic. They said it like it was an insult, not realizing it was your training ground. Every silent season was sharpening you. Every test was teaching you how to remain grounded when others lost their footing. And now those same people are stumbling over their own words, trying to explain how you pulled it off. The truth is, you didn't pull anything off. You simply stopped reacting and started directing. You turned emotion into energy, energy into execution, and execution into evidence. That's why they're mad. Because while they were performing, you were transforming. Look closer. There's a difference between envy and admiration. Admiration inspires imitation. Envy triggers collapse. And right now they're collapsing under the weight of comparison. You didn't challenge them. Your growth did. You didn't insult them. Your discipline did. You didn't fight for dominance. Your self-respect did it for you. That's what happens when someone moves from reacting to ruling. You shifted from proving your worth to embodying it. And that's what separates you. That's what makes people stare longer than they should, whisper things they won't admit, and study your every move as if decoding a mystery. You see, control is an art form. Most people think it's suppression. It's not. It's refinement. It's taking raw emotion and channeling it into precision. You've learned that lesson, and now you move like someone who's rehearsed in grace under fire. You walk through the noise with the confidence of someone who knows chaos. Can't touch class. That's your edge. That's your code. You operate at a frequency higher than their distractions. It's why they can't reach you. That's why their reactions sound like echoes. Distant, desperate, irrelevant. And while they gossip, you're plotting. While they compete, you're calculating. While they rant online, you're refining offline. That's what makes your power moves unstoppable. They're invisible until they're undeniable. By the time people notice, it's too late. The stage is already set. The outcome already decided. You didn't announce it. You just arrived with results. And now they're scrambling to adjust, pretending they saw it coming, but they didn't. You were 3 steps ahead before they even knew there was a game being played. Let them think it's luck. Let them tell themselves stories to feel comfortable. Deep down, clear as throat, they know the truth. You earned every inch of this dominance. You earned it through sleepless nights, quiet, focus, long stretches of discipline no one clapped for. They only see the glow up, not the grind. They see the refinement, not the repetition. But that's fine. You don't owe anyone the backstage pass to your evolution. The less they know, the more they assume. And assumptions have always been your camouflage. You built your legacy in the shadows of their underestimation. Now look at them. Eyes darting, voices cracking, pretending your rise doesn't affect them, but it does. You've disrupted their narrative. You forced them to rewrite the story where you were supposed to lose. That's what being classy under pressure does. It rewires perception. It turns disbelief in critics into spectators. They can't argue with composure because composure never lies. You can fake attitude, but you can't fake balance. You can mimic style, but not substance. That's the gap that keeps them triggered. The realization that no matter how loud they get, they can't outshine calm. You didn't plan to make enemies. You just refused to stay small. And in a world where mediocrity loves company, excellence is offensive. The moment you stopped explaining yourself, you became a threat. The moment you started moving with precision, you became unpredictable. They can't decode you because you don't fit into the emotional chaos that defines them. You think strategically. You act intentionally. You execute flawlessly. That's what gangster really means. Having control over your narrative when everyone else is losing theirs. People will start to study your reactions more than your achievements. They'll watch how you handle pressure, how you respond to hate, how you carry yourself through uncertainty. And every time you remain unbothered, they'll spiral further because they can't match what they can't mirror. You've become a masterclass in emotional discipline, and that's something most people will never learn. They'll imitate your tone, but not your timing. They'll copy your phrases, but not your patience. They'll steal your style, but not your substance. That's the difference between real and reactive. You're the original. They're rehearsing your old moves, thinking they're breaking new ground. You've become a living paradox. Calm but commanding. Polite but powerful. Silent but unforgettable. And that contradiction messes with them because society told them power has to be loud, that dominance has to look aggressive. But you redefined the aesthetic. You made control look effortless. You turned composure into charisma. You made subtlety louder than noise. That's why you walk through chaos untouched. That's why they watch from the sidelines, wondering how you keep winning without fighting. You're not chasing influence. You're building gravitational pull. People orbit around your energy without you having to move. That's why they say your power moves are unstoppable. You don't push, you attract. You don't demand, you command. That's the difference between force and flow. You mastered the art of letting people reveal themselves while you simply stay present. They call that manipulation, but it's just observation. You learn to let their own energy betray them while yours remains centered. They can't understand why they keep losing emotional control around you. It's because you represent everything they lack. You remind them what self-respect looks like. You expose how fragile they are when someone doesn't play into their games. Every time you choose grace over gossip, it offends their chaos. Every time you choose focus over drama, it exposes their distractions. You didn't insult them, you held up a mirror, and what they see in it makes them uncomfortable. That's not your fault, that's their awakening. There's a calmness about you that intimidates people more than any threat ever could. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You've seen too much to be shaken by opinions. You've survived too much to be moved by noise. Your emotions used to be your weakness, but now they're your weapon, aimed carefully, controlled perfectly. You've learned that maturity isn't about reacting less, it's about reacting right. You become so stable that instability feels foreign around you. That's why people act strange in your presence. They sense something they can't name, control. Your consistency has become their discomfort. Every day you show up refined, focused, and unshaken. You remind them how scattered they are. Every decision you make with grace challenges the idea that success has to be aggressive. You're not proving anyone wrong anymore. You're proving yourself right. You're not chasing their approval. You're chasing excellence. And every time you do, the gap widens. The one between people who need validation to feel powerful and people like you who create it naturally. It's ironic how they once laughed when you said, "Patience wins." Now they're learning the hard way that timing is everything. You don't rush opportunities. You align with them. You don't force outcomes. You prepare for them. That's what makes your moves seem unstoppable. It's not speed, it's precision. It's not luck, it's alignment. They operate in impulse. You operate in rhythm. You're not ahead because you moved faster. You're ahead because you moved smarter. Watch how they scramble. Now, trying to copy your flow, trying to imitate your discipline, trying to mimic your confidence. But imitation has a vibration of desperation. It exposes itself over time. You can always tell who's moving from authenticity and who's moving from insecurity. Your path has no shortcuts because it's built on self-control. That's the part they skip. That's why they crumble when pressure hits. You've endured pressure so long, it turned into peace. You've worn focus like armor so long, it's second nature. They can't compete with that. And while they're trying to decipher your calm, life keeps rewarding you for it. Opportunities align, the right people notice, the wrong ones fall away. You didn't have to manipulate outcomes. You just had to maintain composure long enough for everything fake to disqualify itself. That's why you win. That's why they lose control. You built stability while they built noise. And when noise fades, only stability remains. Remember this, class doesn't beg for attention. It earns it through integrity. Power doesn't scream. It speaks once and gets remembered. You've reached the stage where your silence carries more authority than their shouting matches ever could. You're not flexing. You're functioning. You're not posturing, you're performing. You're not reacting to the world is reacting to you. And that shift, that invisible transfer of power is what everyone feels but can't explain. They'll label it however they want. Mystery, arrogance, intimidation. But it's none of those things. It's mastery. It's emotional command. It's the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you've already proven what needed to be proven. You don't need revenge. You have results. You don't need validation. You have vision. You have vision. You have vision. You don't need attention. You have alignment. That's the equation they'll never solve. Every time you remain graceful under attack, they lose another piece of control. Every time you stay calm in chaos, they feel smaller. That's not because you're trying to make them feel that way. It's because your discipline exposes their disorder. You became the walking reminder that composure is power. And now, the ones who once dismissed you can't stop watching. They study your posture, your tone, your movement, your aura, hoping to figure out how you do it. But they never will because what they're looking for can't be copied. It's not a pose. It's a presence. It's earned through struggle, not stolen through imitation. That's why your power moves are unstoppable. They come from clarity, not chaos. You don't waste energy proving points. You conserve it, creating impact. You're the kind of person who can walk through a storm and look untouched. People can't stand that because they mistake grace for luck. But grace is just discipline polished by experience. You faced the same struggles they did. You just handled them differently. You didn't break. You didn't panic. You stayed composed. And now composure is your currency. And as you continue forward, the pattern will repeat. More eyes will turn. More whispers will spread. More envy will surface. But that's the cost of being unshaken. You're not meant to be understood by those still addicted to drama. You're meant to inspire them through confusion. They'll either hate you or learn from you. Either way, you win because every reaction you provoke is proof of impact. Every triggered soul is evidence of your influence. Every envious glance confirms what you built can't be ignored. So let them talk. Let them twist stories, misinterpret actions, and exaggerate moments. You've moved past defending. They called you dangerous because you never begged for attention. While they screamed, panicked, and lost control, you stayed calm like a storm wearing a suit. That silence, it terrified them more than anger ever could. People mistake discipline for intimidation when they can't understand your mindset. You walk through disrespect without breaking character, and now they label you a gangster because pressure never changed your energy. The truth is, real power doesn't flex non-stop. It stays composed while chaos exposes everyone else. Tonight's speech is about mastering self-control, staying classy under fire, and becoming untouchable in a world addicted to emotional weakness. Most people lose themselves the second life stops going their way. One insult ruins their mood, one betrayal changes their personality, and one moment of pressure exposes how weak their control really is. But there's something different about a person who stays calm while everybody else is falling apart. That kind of energy confuses people because they expect emotions to control you the same way emotions control them. They expect anger, shouting, revenge, or panic. Instead, they see patience, silence, and confidence. That calm presence becomes more intimidating than any loud reaction ever could. When people cannot control themselves, they start making emotional decisions. They talk too much, reveal their weakness, destroy relationships, and embarrass themselves trying to prove something. Chaos becomes their identity. But a calm person understands one important truth. Losing control gives other people power over you. The second somebody can control your emotions, they can control your actions. That's why staying calm is not weakness. It is discipline. It is mastery over the mind. Anybody, clears throat, can react. Very few people can remain composed when the pressure becomes unbearable. The world often mistakes calmness for coldness because people are addicted to drama. They trust loud personalities, more than silent strength. But silence carries a different kind of power. A person who stays calm in disrespectful situations sends a message without speaking. They show they are mentally stronger than the environment around them. While others are desperate for attention, they remain focused. While others are trying to win arguments, they are trying to win life. That mindset separates leaders from followers. There will always be people trying to test your patience. Some people provoke others because chaos entertains them. They want reactions. They want emotional explosions. They want proof that they still have influence over your mind. But when you stay calm, You break their expectations. Your silence forces them to face their own behavior. Nothing frustrates toxic people more than somebody who refuses to lose emotional control. Calmness becomes your shield in a world full of emotional traps. Real confidence is not screaming about power. Real confidence is walking in distressful situations without changing your character. Anybody can act strong when life is easy. The real test happens when disrespect, pressure, failure, and jealousy surround you at the same time. That is where true self-control is revealed. Staying calm does not mean you feel nothing. It means you refuse to let emotions make decisions for you. You think before reacting. You breathe before speaking. You protect your peace instead of proving your ego. People eventually notice this energy. They see somebody who cannot easily be manipulated. They see somebody who does not fold under pressure. That presence naturally commands respect because emotional stability is rare in today's world. Many people are loud, aggressive, and impulsive, but very few can remain calm when life becomes unfair. That calmness creates mystery, discipline, and strength all at once. In the end, the strongest person in the room is usually not the loudest one. It is the one who can stay composed while everybody else loses control. Most people believe power comes from being loud. They think shouting proves strength, arguing proves intelligence, and reacting instantly proves confidence. But real power moves differently. Real power stays silent when others are desperate for noise. Silence has a presence that makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to think. Loud reactions are predictable. Anybody can explode with anger, post emotional messages, or argue endlessly to defend their ego. But remaining silent in moments where others expect chaos shows a level of control that most people will never understand. Silence is dangerous because it cannot easily be read. When people cannot figure out, they start creating their own assumptions. That uncertainty gives silence its strength. Loud people reveal everything about themselves through emotions. They expose insecurity, frustration, jealousy, and desperation without realizing it. The calmer and quieter you become, the more mysterious your energy feels. People start wondering what you're thinking, what your next move is, and why certain situations no longer affect you. That curiosity alone creates pressure on others. There are people who intentionally provoke reactions because reactions feed their ego. They want attention. They want proof that they still have emotional control over you. The moment you react emotionally, they feel powerful. But silence destroys that satisfaction completely. When you refuse to react, toxic people become frustrated because their words fail to shake your peace. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their immaturity back at them. Sometimes the strongest response is giving no response at all. Silence also protects you from unnecessary damage. Angry reactions create permanent consequences from temporary emotions. One moment of rage can ruin relationships, opportunities, reputations, and respect. People often regret the words they spoke in anger because emotions disappear faster than consequences do. Silence gives your mind time to think clearly. It allows wisdom to enter situations where emotions are trying to take control. A calm silence can save you from battles that were never worth fighting in the first place. The strongest individuals understand that not every attack deserves attention. Weak minds react to everything because they crave validation. Strong minds choose peace over pointless conflict. They understand that energy is valuable and wasting it on every insult or opinion is a sign of emotional weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is choosing self-control over emotional chaos. It is understanding that your value does not decrease because somebody failed to recognize it. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words ever could. Walking away quietly from disrespect shows more confidence than arguing endlessly to prove a point. Staying composed while others lose control creates an energy that commands respect naturally. People expect emotional explosions because that is what they are used to seeing. When they meet somebody who remains calm and silent under pressure, it unsettles them. They realize they cannot easily manipulate that person. Silence also builds focus. Loud reactions distract people from their goals. Drama consumes time, energy, and peace of mind. Quiet people often move differently because they are focused on growth instead of constant emotional battles. They do not need to announce every move or explain every decision. They let results speak for them. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes rare, and rare things naturally carry value. The loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. Sometimes the quietest person carries the most dangerous level of control. Classy people move differently because they understand something most people never learn. Real value does not beg for attention. It does not chase validation, force respect, or desperately try to impress everyone in the room. People with true class carry themselves with quiet confidence because they know who they are, without needing constant approval from the outside world. While others exhaust themselves trying to prove their worth, classy people focus on protecting their peace, character, and standards. The world today is full of people trying too hard. Everybody wants to appear powerful, rich, important, or untouchable. Social media made people obsessed with showing instead of becoming. Many people fake confidence loudly because deep down they are terrified of feeling invisible. They need reactions to feel valuable. They need applause to feel successful. But classy people are not controlled by that hunger for attention. They understand that the strongest energy is calm, effortless, and natural. When somebody truly knows their worth, they do not waste time announcing it every second. A classy person does not argue endlessly to prove intelligence. They do not scream to prove dominance. They do not humiliate others to feel superior. Their presence alone speaks before they even say a word. The way they handle disrespect, pressure, betrayal, and success reveals their level of character. Anybody can act confident when life is easy, but true class appears when situations become difficult. Staying respectful while others become toxic takes strength. Remaining composed while people try to provoke you takes discipline. That self-control separates mature minds from emotional ones. People often mistake silence for weakness because they are addicted to reactions. They think if somebody stays calm, they must be afraid. But classy people understand that not every situation deserves their energy. Some arguments are beneath them. Some people are not worth explaining things to. There is power in walking away from nonsense without feeling the need to win every battle. Emotional people want attention immediately, but classy people think long-term. They care more about dignity than temporary ego victories. Another reason classy people do not need to prove anything is because their actions already speak loudly. Empty people talk about what they are going to become. Real people quietly become it. A person with class focuses on consistency, discipline, and growth instead of performance. They do not need fake personalities to impress crowds because authenticity already carries weight. People naturally respect individuals who remain real in a world full of fake behavior. Classy people also understand that trying too hard destroys mystery. Constantly explaining yourself makes people value you less. Oversharing your plans, emotions, and struggles gives unnecessary access to your mind. There is strength in privacy. There is elegance in moving silently and letting life reveal your results over time. Quiet confidence creates curiosity because people are not used to seeing someone secure without seeking attention. Many people become loud when they feel insecure. They brag, compete, and constantly compare themselves to others because they are fighting internal battles nobody sees. But classy individuals are comfortable with themselves. They are not trying to outshine everyone. They simply focus on becoming better than they were yesterday. That mindset creates inner peace, and inner peace creates a calm presence that naturally attracts respect. At the end of the day, classy people understand that validation from the world is temporary. Opinions change every second. One day people praise you and the next day they criticize you. Chasing approval from unstable minds is exhausting. That is why classy people stay grounded in their own standards instead of public opinion. They know their value is not determined by noise, attention, or recognition. Real class is quiet, controlled, and undeniable. It never needs to prove anything because authenticity already speaks for itself. Discipline scares weak minds because it represents something they cannot control. Most people live through the emotions, excuses, and temporary motivation. They start strong, quit easily, and blame circumstances whenever life becomes difficult. But a disciplined person moves differently. They stay consistent, even when nobody is watching. They keep improving in silence while others waste time complaining. That level of control over the mind creates an energy that feels intimidating to people who lack self-control themselves. Weak minds are uncomfortable around disciplined individuals because discipline exposes their excuses. When somebody wakes up early, stays focused, controls emotions, and remains committed to goals, it becomes a mirror reflecting everyone else's lack of effort. Instead of feeling inspired, many people feel threatened. They start calling disciplined people cold, obsessed, arrogant, or dangerous simply because they cannot understand that level of mental strength. People often attack what they secretly admire, but lack the courage to become. Discipline changes the way a person carries themselves. It creates confidence that does not need attention. A disciplined individual does not constantly seek validation because results already give them peace. They become harder to manipulate emotionally because their decisions are no longer controlled by feelings alone. Weak minds rely heavily on emotions. So when they meet somebody who stays calm under pressure, it unsettles them. They cannot predict that person easily, and unpredictable people naturally appear powerful. Most people think danger comes from aggression, loudness, or anger. Real danger comes from control. Somebody who can control their emotions, habits, desires, and reactions becomes mentally powerful in ways most people never reach. A person with discipline can walk through stress without collapsing. They can face disrespect without losing themselves. They can suffer in silence while continuing to move forward. That resilience creates fear in weak minds because deep down they know they would break under the same pressure. Discipline also creates independence, and independent people are difficult to influence. Weak minds often seek approval everywhere. They follow trends, copy crowds, and change personalities to fit into different environments. But disciplined people develop strong internal standards. They know what they stand for and what they refuse to tolerate. That confidence makes them appear intimidating because they cannot easily be controlled by opinions, emotions, or manipulation. There is also something powerful about silent discipline. Many people announce every goal, every plan, and every temporary success because they crave attention before achievement. Disciplined people usually stay quiet. They work behind the scenes. They build themselves while the world underestimates them. Then one day the results speak so loudly that people become shocked by their transformation. Weak minds often call this energy dangerous because they are not used to seeing somebody so focused and mentally locked in. A disciplined person also develops patience, and patience is a weapon most people do not have. Weak individuals want instant success, instant revenge, and instant rewards. They struggle to delay gratification because emotions constantly control their actions. Discipline teaches people to think long-term. It teaches sacrifice, consistency, and emotional stability. Somebody who can remain patient while building quietly becomes extremely difficult to stop because they are no longer distracted by temporary emotions. The truth is, weak minds fear discipline because discipline removes excuses. It proves that growth requires responsibility, sacrifice, and consistency instead of endless complaining. Many people would rather criticize disciplined individuals than confront their own laziness or lack of focus. But disciplined people understand something important. Staying focused on self-improvement will always make insecure people uncomfortable. In a world addicted to shortcuts, distractions, and emotional chaos, discipline looks rare, and rare things naturally appear powerful, intimidating, and dangerous to those who refuse to control themselves. Many people think respect comes from fear. They believe being aggressive, loud, intimidating, or emotionally explosive makes them powerful. They try to dominate every room, control every conversation, and make people nervous around them because they confuse fear with influence. But fear is temporary. Fear disappears the moment people stop feeling threatened. Real respect is different. Real respect stays even when nobody is forced to give it. And the foundation of true respect is self-control. A person who cannot control their emotions can never fully control their life. The moment anger controls your words, frustration controls your actions, or ego controls your decisions, you become predictable. Weak people react instantly because emotions lead their mind. They shout during disagreements, disrespect people when upset, and lose control whenever pressure enters their life. At first, that behavior may scare some people, but deep down it does not create respect. It creates discomfort. People may stay silent around emotionally unstable individuals, but silence is not always respect. Sometimes it is simply avoidance. Self-control creates a completely different type of presence. A person with self-control does not need to prove strength every second because their energy already speaks. See, for them, they stay calm when others panic. They think before speaking. They refuse to let temporary emotions destroy long-term peace. That level of discipline naturally earns respect because emotional control is rare in today's world. Most people are controlled by impulses, distractions, and feelings. Somebody who remains composed under pressure stands out immediately. There is strength in staying calm when the situation is trying to break you. Anybody can remain polite when life is easy, but the true character appears during stressful moments. A person who maintains dignity during disrespect shows mental maturity. A person who refuses to lose control during chaos shows inner power. Self-control does not mean weakness. It means you are strong enough to pause before reacting. It means you control your emotions instead of allowing emotions to control you. Fear-based people constantly seek dominance because they are insecure internally. They want people to obey them because they secretly see fear losing control. That is why they become aggressive when challenged. They depend on intimidation to feel powerful. But a person with genuine self-control does not need constant validation or fear to feel respected. They understand that respect is earned through consistency, discipline, and character. Their calmness makes people feel stable instead of anxious. Self-control also protects relationships, opportunities, and reputation. Many people destroy their own future through emotional reactions. One angry moment can damage years of trust. One impulsive decision can ruin valuable opportunities. But disciplined individuals understand the value of patience. They know silence is sometimes stronger than arguments. They know walking away peacefully can be more powerful than winning a pointless fight. That maturity creates long-lasting respect because people trust emotionally stable individuals more than emotionally reckless ones. Another reason self-control earns respect is because it shows confidence. Insecure people react to everything because they constantly feel attacked. Confident people choose carefully what deserves their energy. They do not waste time proving themselves to every opinion, insult, or challenge. Their peace becomes their power. Weak minds may mistake calmness for softness at first, but eventually they realize calm people are often the hardest to break. In the end, fear can force temporary obedience, but it can never create genuine admiration. People eventually grow tired of controlling, unstable personalities, but individuals with self-control leave a lasting impact because their presence feels balanced, mature, and trustworthy. Real respect is not built by making people afraid of you. It is built by mastering yourself so completely that your calmness becomes stronger than anybody else's chaos. Pressure reveals the truth about people. Anybody can look confident when life is smooth, money is flowing, and everything is going their way. Anybody can smile, act strong, and talk big when there are no real challenges testing their mind. But the moment stress, betrayal, failure, or chaos enters the room, people show who they truly are. Some panic immediately. Some lose emotional control. Some betray their own values just to survive uncomfortable situations. But the real boss moves differently. No matter how intense the pressure becomes, they never break character. A real boss understands that emotions are temporary, but reputation lasts. That is why they refuse to let difficult moments change their identity. They stay composed when others become emotional. They stay focused when others become distracted. They remain disciplined when others start collapsing mentally. That consistency creates respect because people notice when somebody can handle pressure without losing themselves. In a world full of emotional reactions, calm energy becomes rare and powerful. Most people break character because they are controlled by circumstances. If life is good, they are positive. If life becomes difficult, they become toxic, angry, or unstable. Their personality changes depending on what they are facing. But mentally strong individuals understand that true power is remaining solemn even during storms. Pressure should not control your identity. A real boss keeps the same standards, the same mindset, and the same discipline whether life is easy or difficult. There will always be people trying to provoke you during stressful moments. Some people want to see you lose control because it makes them feel better about their own weakness. They wait for emotional reactions. They wait for anger, panic, or desperation because they want proof that pressure affects you the same way it affects everyone else. But when you stay calm under pressure, it destroys their expectations completely. Your self-control becomes intimidating because most people cannot maintain emotional balance when life starts attacking them from every direction. Breaking character often leads people to make destructive decisions. Anger creates regret. Panic creates mistakes. Desperation destroys judgment. That is why emotional discipline matters so much. A real boss knows that one bad reaction can damage years of respect and progress. They understand that strength is not about acting aggressively. Strength is about staying mentally stable while the world around you becomes unstable. Another reason real bosses never break character is because they think long-term. Weak people react emotionally to temporary situations. Strong people protect their future by controlling their present behavior. They know every situation does not deserve a reaction. Some battles are distractions designed to steal focus and peace. Instead of wasting energy proving themselves constantly, they stay locked in on their goals and priorities. Pressure also creates opportunities to reveal leadership. During chaos, people naturally look toward the calm person. Clears throat. In the room, the individual who remains composed under stress automatically gains influence because emotional stability creates trust. Anybody can lead during easy moments, but only disciplined people can lead during difficult times. That is why real bosses become respected without forcing it. Their behavior under pressure speaks louder than words ever could. At the end of the day, pressure does not destroy people, it exposes them. It reveals whether someone is ruled by emotions or guided by discipline. The real boss understands that life will always test patience, mindset, and emotional control. But instead of breaking under pressure, they become sharper, calmer, and stronger. While others lose themselves trying to survive difficult moments, they protect their character like a king protecting a crown.